welcome to The Explainer, where we break down what's really going on behind the numbers. Today, we're digging into Enphase Energy's latest earnings call, and wow, it paints a picture of a company right in the middle of a huge market transition. So let's jump right in.
Yeah, that opening line from the CEO, Badri Kothandaraman, pretty much says it all, right? A significant change is occurring. This isn't your standard run-of-the-mill earnings report. We're talking about a company that's staring down some major policy shakeups, but at the very same time is absolutely flooring it on the technology side. It's a classic story of challenge, but also some massive opportunity.
Okay, so first things first, let's look at the numbers. On the surface, Q3 of 2025 looked fantastic for Enphase. I mean, it really paints a picture of a company that's firing on all cylinders, hitting some pretty big milestones. And the big headline number? Revenue. $410 million. That's their best quarter in 2 years. After a really tough stretch for the whole solar industry, a number like this shows some serious strength and solid execution. But it's never just about that one big number. They also shipped a record amount of batteries, and that's a huge piece of their puzzle for the future. Plus, they kept pumping out microinverters from their US factories, which is absolutely critical for them to cash in on those domestic manufacturing tax credits. Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. If you peel back just one layer of that great-looking quarter, you find something pretty dramatic. It's a split story. The global market isn't just one thing. It's pulling Enphase in two totally opposite directions at the same time. And here it is. Just look at this contrast. It's incredible. The US market, surging ahead, up 29%. But Europe? It completely fell off a cliff, down 38%. This is a textbook example of a tale of two markets, and they're being driven by completely different things. So, this brings us to the big question, right? Why? Why is this happening? What on earth is going on that's creating such a huge performance gap between two of their biggest markets? Well, the answer in a word is policy. It all comes down to government policy. Here in the US, that big growth number is partly because everyone's rushing to install solar before a big tax credit expires. But over in Europe, places like the Netherlands are getting rid of net metering, where you get paid for sending extra power back to the grid. And without that, demand has really taken a hit. So with that big tax credit cliff coming up in the US, Enphase isn't just sitting around and waiting for things to fall apart. Nope, they've got a plan. They're pushing this really clever financing tool that's designed to help homeowners bridge that gap once the credit is gone. It's called a prepaid solar lease. And the whole idea here is pretty slick. It's all about shifting who actually gets the tax credit. So instead of you, the homeowner, trying to claim a residential credit, a separate company owns the system on your roof, and they go and claim a much larger, more reliable commercial tax credit. So here's the magic trick. That third-party owner takes the money they save from that big commercial credit and uses it to slash the price for the homeowner. And the end result is the homeowner's final cost looks almost exactly the same as it did with the old 30% credit. It's a really smart financial workaround that keeps solar affordable. Okay, so let's jump back across the pond to Europe for a second. Remember that policy problem that's killing their solar sales? Well, here's the plot twist. That very same problem is creating a giant, kind of unexpected opportunity for a different part of their business, energy storage. Let's look at the Netherlands again. Net metering is gone, so selling your extra solar power back to the grid just doesn't make sense anymore. So what's the new smart move? Store that energy yourself in a battery and use it when the sun goes down. Now think about this. Enphase already has almost 500,000 solar systems installed there. All of those are now potential customers for a battery retrofit. We're talking about a potential $2 billion market for them, just in that one country. And this is where their strategy gets really smart. See, they're not just selling a box, they're building a whole ecosystem. They're partnering up with the big utility companies to create these programs where homeowners can actually get paid every month for letting the utility tap into their battery to help balance the grid. So you lower your electric bill and you get a check. It makes buying a battery a total no-brainer. So you've got this smart financing play for the US and this battery-first strategy for Europe. But underneath all of that is the real core of Enphase's plan for the future. They believe the ultimate solution is to just make the technology itself way better, way cheaper, and way more powerful.
And right at the heart of that tech push is this new stuff called gallium nitride, or GaN for short. The CEO described it as a total leap forward from the old school silicon we've been using in electronics forever. The bottom line? It's faster, it's more efficient, and it's way more reliable. The very first product they're putting this new GaN tech into is their IQ9 microinverter. And right out of the gate, it does something massive for them. It lets them jump into the small commercial solar market. We're talking about a $400 million opportunity in the US alone that they literally could not touch before. And this GaN tech isn't a one-off. It's the foundation for their entire product roadmap for 2026. It's going into a new EV charger that can actually power your house from your car during an outage. And it's the key ingredient in their next-generation battery, which they say will bring a step-change reduction in cost. That's huge for making storage affordable for everybody. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, you see a company that's navigating some pretty choppy waters, right? You've got these short-term headaches from policy changes, for sure. But they're betting that some really powerful long-term trends are going to be like a strong wind at their back. Sure, the tax credit stuff is a challenge, no doubt. But on the other side of the scale, you have these almost unstoppable forces. I mean, electricity prices keep going up. The power needed for all this new AI stuff is putting a huge strain on the grid. And eventually, interest rates are expected to come down, which makes buying this stuff cheaper. Enphase is betting that in the long run, those big trends are going to matter way more than the short-term political noise. And that really brings us to the final multi-billion-dollar question, doesn't it? The question that their entire strategy really hangs on. Enphase is making a huge bet that they can innovate so much, so fast, that the basic math of owning solar and batteries becomes a no-brainer, all on its own. A world where government incentives are just a nice little bonus, not the main reason you buy. So can pure technology and smart financing finally make policy irrelevant? That's the big question, and that's exactly what we'll be watching.